Thank you for making the time to listen to this briefing about the Community Information Exchange. My name is Jordan Davis. I'm the Executive Director of Smart Columbus. I wanted to take a minute to quickly introduce you to Smart Columbus and who the organization is you'd be partnering with before I dive into what the Community Information Exchange is. So Smart Columbus is a part of the Columbus Partnership, and our family of organizations work every day to help our region become the most prosperous region in the United States. You may know Smart Columbus more specifically from our work starting in 2016 when we won the U.S. Department of Transportation Smart Cities Challenge, where we applied emerging technologies into improving transportation. Since then, we've built off that body of work and expanded into areas like sustainability, digital access, and overall digitalization of the experience in our community. At the core, what we are is maybe most analogous to like an innovation lab. We exist to anticipate and advance what is new and next at the intersection of technology and community good. We're looking to find ways in which we can improve societal outcomes in our community to make it a better quality of life for everyone that lives here. And the ways that we do that is through cross-sector collaboration. We're partnering with countless partners across private, public, and nonprofit sectors. And then we use human-centered design as a means to doing our work across all aspects, everything from identifying the problems that we seek to solve to developing the ultimate solutions that we hope to deliver to the community. And then we also are the delivery vehicle for developing projects, products, and programs across the community. We have a lot of partners, again, across public, private, and the nonprofit sector, and we're glad to partner with you on this project. And we have a strong, stable, growing body of work. You'll hear about some of our work in the community, I hope, but we are pretty well known for our electrification work and promoting the adoption of electric vehicles or growing the availability of EV infrastructure, like EV charging stations across the region. We've recently got into digital equity, so helping facilitate the ecosystem coordination, so partnerships between nonprofits to ensuring that every resident has the access to devices, skills, and internet they need to participate in the digital economy that we live and work in today. And then the Community Information Exchange, which we're here to talk about. So the Community Information Exchange is a countywide initiative. It's funded by the city and county. It's guided by human-centered design. So every step of the process that we've been involved in thus far has been in close feedback loops with residents and frontline workers in the nonprofit community to inform this process. And its goal is to make it possible for individuals to access health and human services when they need it most. So I'm quickly going to walk through some of the challenges that we've heard directly from residents and frontline caseworkers in the community. They've helped us to really understand the journey to seeking help. What does that look like? Where is it not working? And clearly there's a lot of commonality on both sides of the table. And it really compounds in this finding help navigation space. And so as I walk through what those common challenges are, I'm also going to provide some vision of what we think or where we think technology can help improve what that experience is. So one of the most prevalent problems was starting at the very beginning. Where does an individual start to find the services that they need? And right now that's difficult because there's no single source of truth. And sometimes they can go to different agencies and hear different things about where to go. And it can feel like a maze and that you're getting a runaround. We want to change that. We want to make sure that wherever you go, it's like walking into one door to the whole system. So if you call 211, if you text 211, you're getting the same access to trusted information about what programs exist, where you can go to get started as you would if you walked into that space itself. And then we want to add a self-service option. So an interface that allows you online to self-service connect to the services that you want and need. Today, communication while trying to access services is slow and unclear. So while once you figure out where to go for help, sometimes it involves long wait times to figure out what you need to qualify or to get an answer to a critical question you have. And that slow, long process is likely lack to information that a resident can't get on their own, a lack of transparency. We imagine technology helping with that. So this is an example in Iowa where they used radical transparency in the child care space to change the ability for a resident to be able to enroll their child in childcare. So what you see right now is a searchable interface that allows you to look by address or zip code where you'd like to find childcare and then be able to see transparently how much availability they have per age group and if they take voucher programs. This is possible. We'd love to see this happen across various service availability here in Columbus. The next problem that's come up a lot is once residents find what they need, get the answers of where to go, there's a lot of dead ends. There's a lot of, may I say, false hope, where there's unclear eligibility standards. And so they start out in a process, but it's very cumbersome and time consuming. They might drop out of that process because of it, or they get a no. They put all this time into it and they get a no. And that really starts to lead to burnout to the point where they're exhausting themselves and they don't want to continue in the process. We think we can make this process easier. There's a combination of ideas that exist today that we can learn from. One is the Common App in higher ed, where there's a common application and it's sent to all of the types of universities someone's interested in applying for. Imagine that being a common intake form, an individual selecting all of the different services they'd like to potentially enroll in, and that triggering a eligibility process for quick response. Another way that you see a lot in the digital world today is this progressive data building way, which, you know, unlike example one, which maybe it's a longer application form and to send to lots of people, not everything in the health and human services sector needs all of that information as just surface level intake to determine if they can move to the next step or not. So in this instance, it would be kind of a consent driven based off of the type of service they want. So maybe they just want to learn about a utility assistance program. They might only need an address for that. But then maybe they are interested in a housing assistance program. They might need a social security number for that. Based off where they want to go and what type of services, more data is requested in that process. What we ultimately hope in all of these combinations of solutions that we look for technology to solve for us is to eliminate a resident's need to tell their story more than one time and to provide a more dignified experience that they can better understand their eligibility for moving forward in a process faster. There's a lot of need in the community and no one agency can do it all. Unfortunately, no agency can meet every resident's need. And so that said, there's high caseloads in all of these agencies as well. And so when residents really need intensive care and support, likely it's going to come from multiple different organizations. And that handoff point is missing today. It's not structured or clear or reliable. We hope to change that so that organizations don't have to feel alone in serving this individual, but they can feel a part of a team of organizations that they know of that are triaging and supporting an organization holistically. We also think that administratively, we can use technology to reduce the administrative burden to lighten that load for caseworkers. Here's something that a caseworker might benefit from. This is a resident 360-degree view. So as you see, this starts to have a complete record of a resident based off a consent-driven process in those kind of intake forms I just shared. A resident's demographic information starts to become more complete as more agencies and services are utilized. And then you have that service history. This is a real look at a sample client view from an individual from a data exercise that we did where we shared 12 years of record level data between the Community Shelter Board and the Mid-Ohio Food Collective. And when we layered that information, we started to have a more complete view about an individual than we ever would have had if we looked at it as just one agency alone. If a caseworker and then therefore a case team, so their caseworker in housing and in food could look at this holistically, the conversation with that individual may be different. You may be able to get further faster in support and care of that individual. Lastly, we acknowledge that in today's system, preventative or proactive care really is hard to come by, if ever rarely exists. It really takes a resident seeking help, proactively seeking help on their behalf after they've reached some type of crisis or problem point. The system doesn't really proactively reach out to an individual when they anticipate that the situation might be getting worse. How might outcomes be different if we could get to residents faster and sooner before a situation falls into crisis? There are examples across the country, one in which we've studied the most extensively in Los Angeles, where they're using modern technologies like AI to predict what individuals might be more at risk of becoming homeless for the first time. We have done a similar exercise, and have started to see early patterns of the same type of patterns that LA has seen, in which they've seen notable increase in demonstrated food insecurity by the amount of time someone has gone to a food bank before they've had their first instance of homelessness. You could imagine once that pattern is seen from the system, a proactive alert or trigger could notify a caseworker to then encourage that caseworker to reach out to that individual to offer an intervention or proactive care measure like housing assistance or rental assistance or something like that, all in the goal of trying to prevent a crisis or from a situation getting worse. So putting all of that together, what might this future look like? So walk with me here. Rachel is a single mom of a 2-year-old with another one on the way. So imagine if she qualifies for an Ohio Child Care Choice voucher. She's, of course, a busy mom. And to find available qualifying childcare, she uses the CIE platform to search for a childcare program that has availability. Critical to this is a trusted directory that has a full directory of the available childcare programs with real-time availability. So real-time availability of how many openings they have in those classes. Once she chooses that desired childcare provider, she then applies by taking the first step to applying by submitting a common intake form. She submits that kind of demographic background information, and that starts to get her into the CIE. Through sharing that information, the system is looking at what other programs and services might she be eligible for based off that information that she completed. Likely, when she went to go make her next step to reserve a spot for her child, she also thought ahead to say, well, I have another one on the way. Maybe they would have a spot for me in 8-9 months for my expectant little one. In that instance, that would show up on her intake form, and eligibility might show that she's an expectant mother and she qualifies for some of the various services and programs that are part of the Celebrate One network. Those could then be offered up to her proactively to better support her holistically. When Rachel meets with a caseworker that supports her in other aspects of her life, they can log into the CIE platform to look at her fuller view of services, that longitudinal record I shared earlier, and that 360-degree view. That caseworker then has a more complete view of the types of services that Rachel is getting. And the caseworker may notice that there's something else she might qualify for, like utility assistance. And in their conversation, she realizes like financial stability is at risk right now. And so utility assistance would be helpful. With Rachel's consent, the caseworker can now make a referral for that, a service connection referral for that assistance. And that next caseworker can now see that full view and help her faster. Now, as Rachel continues about life, there's a new pattern of behavior that starts to show up on her record. She starts seeking more food assistance services. That financial insecurity that started to show up with the utility assistance need has started to get a little bit worse. And so as that is showing out of network, right, it's out of an agency that someone may not have view of, that behavior starts to increase, and that expression of need shows up in that way. Her other caseworker is alerted to that, and they could proactively reach out with other suggestions about other support services that may help her, so that we can prevent a greater housing crisis for her and her family. I hope that story of how the CIE works holistically resonates with you, and you can see how that would benefit you and the clients that you serve. In order to accomplish this, yes, it's going to take technology, but it's definitely going to take a lot more. This is a full system coordination that's required to make this work, and that inevitably has a lot of change management to it. And that's why the CIE initiative is such a large undertaking. It involves everything from ensuring that equitable resident and caseworker access is reliable and consistent across all of those entry points we talked about earlier, that resident consent is front and foremost with clear opt-in and clear opt-out choices that a resident can make on their own. We have coordinated care workflows, which is what we are seeking to partner with you on, which really addresses the common challenges and opportunities across agencies for this type of improvement. And it's really getting at a work level to understand, how does this operate today? What could that look like in the future? And then what are all of the ways in which we need to get there? What are the data standards decisions? What are the policies? What are the technology requirements in order to make that workflow possible? The data sharing framework, this is really essential to making the system work for safe and secure collaboration across agencies. And then the CIE technology platform, which is the enabling system behind all of this. The informed community insights is the kind of research intelligence brain that will help us move from reactive to proactive systems. And then the ongoing business model to continue to grow this system into the future. So now, where are we? We've spent many years in research, planning, visioning with a lot of partners over the past several years. And thanks to the city and county, we have the fully funded resources to begin developing this system. So we are entering phase 1. We began in January 1st, and we are fast and furious to working towards a full release of the first iteration of the technology in 2027. And then we'll continue to make advancements and expand the partners on the platform in 2028. Critical to understanding phase 1 is knowing, who are we designing for first? So residents and caseworkers are central users of the system. And we're most looking for care coordination between community-based organizations first in phase 1. And then 211, we're also exploring an integrated future with strengthening 211 alongside the CIE. So those are the two parts of the ecosystem we are starting with for system adoption first. And then in phase 2, as you see in this slide, phase 2 will be onboarding with hospitals and healthcare systems and government departments and systems. In phase 1, for the community-based organizations, we're focused on the sectors of housing, workforce, childcare, and public health. What we are doing to start building the system is we believe that we can't just build this technology platform and it will work for everyone. We really need to build it with the people that are going to use it. And so we have started by identifying the organizations in each of these sectors that really serve as the preeminent kind of coordination vehicle for a group of organizations. And through that kind of early adopter network, we are identifying workflows that could be improved using the community information exchange. This is where you come in. You've been identified as a key partner within one of these networks to help build out that workflow. And what is a workflow? Again, a workflow is really the way of working to better serve residents, or to better, it's a resident workflow to better connect with services. The type of workflows, going back to the stories I told earlier, are things like maintaining or updating information to achieve a trusted directory that serves the community. Facilitating service matching, so the ability to connect with eligibility requirements, with integrations to connect a resident to a service, and then to kind of match them with that service as well. Those two things really go hand in hand. We then have consent management. So how do we integrate resident consent into these workflows and into policies within organizations? My journey and my clients are the two different interfaces. My journey being that resident 360-degree view access. So it's the resident managed account where they can manage their profile, view their service history. And then my clients is the caseworker view, where they can view their resident service history and facilitate service matching and connections outside their organization. So these are really the key technology capabilities that we want to bring to enhancing ways of working. And so what we are looking to do together with you is identify and really understand how are things working today across these types of ways of working, and how might they be possible to be changed and improved with this new way of working in our community with the CIE. We look forward to partnering with you. In the meantime, please join our newsletter. It's a great way to stay up to speed with the project, and we look forward to being in person with you very soon. Thanks.